Good morning, beloveds. This is the beginning of the year 2018. We are in the 5th of January this morning, and something has been filtering through me to talk about. It's also one of those things that is not necessarily easy to be put, and very probably easy, maybe easy to be misunderstood. So if this registers with you and you feel to look into it, look into it. If it doesn't register with you and it is not interesting to you, please, I'm not interested particularly in your feedback of what you think about me. I'm interested in, if you're interested in the topic, then that's a different thing. But what about me personally, I'm not interested in. I'm not interested whether I'm right or not right. This is just something that I'm seeing. Okay, so let's see, what is it? What I'm seeing in this time is that sometimes as mature people that have worked on ourselves, people who have looked into who am I, what am I doing, and looked at the conditioning that we are running in our life, I see that often we are using that as an excuse, sometimes to be very childish, not childlike. As you mature, there is a childlike quality that comes, but it has the maturity of the being with it. But I have found that many people who are finding out who they are seem to become quite childish and seem to lack responsibility and respect in a way. They revolt, and in that revolt and revolution, they go, fuck you, I'm going to do what I want to do, and there are no consequences. My beloved master, and this is me paraphrasing, if I remember correctly, this is how I took it. It may be what he meant, it may not be what he meant, but it was a story I heard from him. And I'm not speaking his exact words, I'm speaking it through me. He said that in his childhood, he was always doing mischievous things. He was always getting into trouble because he always questioned he always often felt that what people were trying to say to him, he didn't feel were true. So he would always go against it often and do what he felt was right for himself. In this, he also said, which I loved, was don't get it wrong. If you are going to be yourself and you're going to do things that the majority of the collective does not agree with, don't think that is not going to get you in trouble. Because the thing is, we go, oh no, I'm going to do this and it's okay and I'm spiritual and I'm allowed to do it, and you have to put up with it, or you have to agree with me, or you have to be a victim to it. He used to say that because he used to do what he wanted to do, he would often sometimes get yelled at, or sometimes he would get physically hurt because he was doing something that the collective or the grown-ups did not agree with. So what I'm saying was, if we are going to be standing in our own truth, which is different from the collective, we have to understand that sometimes there will be a fallout from it. And sometimes we have to be ready to take those consequences still to be ourselves. So that's one thing. Now the other is, and it's interesting because with this house that I rent with friends in Pune, we now have one space upstairs where we do not have a permanent person who takes their part of that rent. So for that room, which is actually 2 rooms, we rent this space out so that we can cover the costs of the rent and the taking care of this space. We do not do it to make money. We do it to cover the costs of this so that we can carry on living in this house. Because if the cost is not covered, then we have to, the 3 of us that are sharing this space, we will have to find the money to cover that cost, which of course we will do if we have to. So we do share our home with friends. We also share our own spaces when we go out. When we go out of the country, we sometimes rent our spaces to friends or people that we know. We are not doing this to make money. We are doing it to cover our costs. We are very rich people in many ways, but we choose to live a very different lifestyle to most people. So on the level of money, we always seem to have enough, and I always have what I need, I always get taken care of and whatever. But I am not a rich person in the form of financial money. So it is important for me to sometimes rent my space out or rent spaces in the house. This also allows people to come in and stay in this beautiful house, which has a very beautiful energy because we take care of it, we respect it. It is a Buddha field within itself. So it also triggers people. It will trigger your stuff because you come into a clean space, and where we've had many beautiful people staying with us. Many, many beautiful people who have bought their energy, bought their space, and helped to fill this space with more juice and life. And there is a beauty in living together which is very wonderful, where you do not encroach on each other's privacy. But it's lovely to walk in the kitchen and say hello to somebody in the morning while you make a cup of tea, and the spontaneous flow that can happen with that, with living in community with a few people. But what I have found is that with this renting, there's been some very interesting patterns that people run. And of course, I read energy, so it's very easy for me to see sometimes the games people are playing with themselves, and sometimes that overflows onto us. So this is the difference. What is it to take responsibility? We have had people who have, this is the season where we can rent our space, this room upstairs. It's very easy because it's winter here. The Osho Resort is near, so people come to stay. And we have, there's not so many spaces now that are available like this, so we do have quite a lot of people asking to come and stay with us. So we are definitely not as expensive as most, but we have to charge a certain amount to cover the cost. So we're very clear with people. We also say to people, once they book a room and they have made a confirmed booking for this season, especially in high season, that they are responsible for the full rent, even if they have to cancel, because we have blocked the bookings, and we may not get somebody to come in the space if they cancel. So we ask them to make that commitment before they come. We are also very upfront with the costs. We are upfront with everything. Any question that is asked, we are very transparent. So basically, over the years that I have been renting, we have had some beautiful people. We've had lovely people in who have enhanced the energy of this space and have been great fun to be around. Some of them have been processing, some of them have been gone into quite difficult spaces, some of them sometimes in India are sick, or sometimes anywhere you're sick. So this house has held many people and to go through sometimes not so easy times. In saying that, we have also had people that have been very abusive to the house. And it's very interesting to give some examples. And this is what I want to talk about, where we take the use of I'm a spiritual person and I'm flitting around and I'm going to change my mind and I'm going to do this and I'm going to be spontaneous and everything. But they make a commitment and they make it openly and knowingly. And then they come up with their airy-fairy so-called spirituality, which is just bullshit. And it's a lack of responsibility. It is a lack of respect. One girl was in Rishikesh and she arranged to come to Pune. And she took the upstairs room for, I think, a month. A month is quite a long time to block a booking. So, and we do not take any money up front. We go on trust. So when you come, you pay us, and so we go on trust. And then suddenly I get a phone call. And I'm sick and I've got this and I've had the most amazing experience with Muji and I've decided that I think I should stay on in Rishikesh and I should stay here. Even though Muji's gone, I'm going to stay here. Nothing about, wow, I'm sorry, I've made a commitment to you for a month. I understood that I had to pay the full rent if I was going to choose not to come, even if I came or not, that this was the agreement. And the day before I'm due to arrive, I'm going to give you this information that I'm not coming. And I'm doing that in the name that I am a spiritual person, I'm on my spiritual path, and I've just decided that I'm going to do this. And also, then the next thing is they say, oh yes, and I'm sick. Now, okay, look at this. This is just a story, okay? It's just a story. So look at the story from what I'm saying. Now, if you look at the energy behind this, what is the energy? The energy is, hang on, let me just close this because we've got a little bit of noise. Okay? The energy is, okay. The energy is, first of all, you are going back on your word to yourself, the commitment that you have made. You are disrespecting the person that you have also made an agreement with, who has been only helpful with you to make your traveling, your arriving, your trip easy. You are also then using the excuse of health to justify why it is okay for you to be unaware and disrespectful and go back on your word. Now, there is nothing wrong with asking somebody and saying, look, this is my situation. I am here. I am having an incredible experience and I feel that I'd like to stay on a bit longer where I am, which means I won't be able to come to you either till a bit later or I may have to cancel it. I will still honour the agreement that I have made with you. But may I ask, is it possible, could you try and rent the space to somebody else? Or is it possible that you could give me a deduction in the price? I know it's not the agreement we had, but would it be possible? Now, there's always a possibility to ask. I'm not saying don't ask. But when I had this experience happen to me, I then wrote back to the woman and I said, well, you did, if you look back in our communication, you will see that I did explain that we do not have, if you choose to cancel once I've made a confirmed booking, then you are responsible for full payment, regardless of whether you come. And this is the agreement that you agreed with when you made the booking. And that realistically, I'm not responsible for your change of mind. I'm not responsible for your ill health. And I would really appreciate if you could honour this, because in this time we don't have anybody else who wants to take the space. And this is how we are going to pay our next rent for this particular space. And it puts us in difficulty. Saying that, I will try and see if I can find somebody else for the room, and if so, I will let you know, and then If it's part or all of the time, then of course you won't have to pay for that part. Now, this is communication, this is respect, and this is to not be allowing this childish nature and this so-called spirituality to be your excuse to misuse and disrespect somebody who maybe has been incredibly kind to you. Why are we so afraid that we are not able to say if we've made a mistake? Also, if we have done something that is out of integrity, out of integrity. We are not being in integrity when we have made a commitment. The house is just a story. It's just an excuse to show in a very common, mundane way an act of how we can be very slippery with this spirituality and this so-called oh, I'm a spiritual person. And then you have to look at the actions of your life to see if your actions of your life are mirroring what you're really doing, because you have to walk what you are learning in the respect for yourself. Because if you are out of integrity, you won't have to wait till another lifetime to experience it. It will come back to you probably very soon, and you will have an experience where you will be put in a very similar experience. And if you are aware enough, you'll be able to go, aha, oh my God, I understand now what that feels like to do what I did to this person, to do it. And you will use it as a learning, because existence is very generous. It gives us many opportunities to learn many things. These situations, this example gives me an opportunity to talk to you here and for this to filter through and explain this. So as we move into this new time where we are finding that we cannot operate in the old ways, we have to be very careful to have integrity and to have, to be authentic, but also to be in our integrity and not to be childish, where we think, oh no, I can do whatever I want, I'm a child, I'm going to do, I want it. Well, actually, hang on, what is the commitment that you have made, and be honourable to that. Because what I see, that if I also make myself a victim to this, then I am playing the game with you. I am also supporting you. I'm supporting myself to be a victim, and I'm supporting you also to be to manipulate and to do something. But we're both involved in it. So it is important for me to stand up and say, I will do everything that I can, but I'm also not going to make myself responsible for your problems or your change of plan with the commitments that you have made to me. Saying that, if we have done some work on ourselves, even if people haven't actually, even very ordinary, beautiful, ordinary people have had usually one experience where they know within themselves what is the correct action. What is correct action? You get to a point where you know, it doesn't come from your mind, it doesn't come from the emotional body, it comes from a space within yourself where you know. People often say, oh, I don't know. You know, they say something about a relationship, because many people are tied up in relationship, and then they go, oh, but I didn't know. And I just stop them for a minute and I go, okay, just wait a minute. Now just go slower with this. Go inside and tell me, you did know. On a deeper level, you did know. You may not have wanted to see it, you may not want to understand, but you do know. Mostly we know. We know when we are in integrity. We know when we are being impeccable. This word impeccability is to be impeccable, to be very clear. We know it. We know when we're selling ourselves out. We know when we're doing something that's wrong. Because normally when we're doing something that is not in integrity, which is not impeccable, we are usually giving an excuse for it. Or somehow we maybe feel a bit shy about talking about it. Even in the beginning, I suppose I gave a justification why I was going to talk about this, because maybe there's part of me that also finds this not so easy to speak about, because we're all in the game of this. So start really your meditations, your groups, the things that you are doing are to bring you to the point where you can listen to this inner being and allow from this deeper space within yourself to guide you, so that you are not dependent on other people eventually, and that you trust yourself first. But watch yourself when you are hearing yourself making excuses for you to act in a childish, not childlike way, but a childish manner, and not take responsibility for your actions. Because I can guarantee you that if you are on the path and you are maturing, existence is going to give you an opportunity. It's going to test you and see if you are going to be in your integrity and to be impeccable in your understanding, in following your understanding in a very clear and clean way. And it will test you. It will give you the most beautiful sweeting in the way to try to pull you back into the mind or into the emotional body, and it will give you a very nice sweetie, and it will test you to see how you deal with that situation. Doesn't mean you can't take the sweetie. It doesn't mean you leave the sweetie there. It doesn't mean that. It means, how am I ready to be in my integrity and my authenticity and impeccability to deal with this situation? This will show if you have understood the lessons that you have been getting, or if they are just still held in a mind level. Because often it's like a spiral. We will understand something and we may understand it from the mind, or we may understand it from the emotions. But when you really understand something, when you really get it and you understand it from the being, when it really drops in through all the levels and you understand it on the deepest level, you will be very aware when you are playing a game with yourself. Because ultimately you can say it's with the other. If I allow myself to be a victim to it, that is my responsibility. It is my responsibility to remind you of the commitment, for example, with the room, what you have made. But there is a space that it comes in a spiral, and first of all we'll understand it on the mind, and we'll go, ah, yeah, I got it. But it will just still be somehow the mind. Then we will go around maybe again and we will understand on the emotional level of it. And then we will eventually come to this where suddenly we know the taste of it, we know the smell of it, we know. And we know when we are not being in our integrity. And sometimes we still will run the game of it, and we will be able to watch that and see where that takes us. Does it support us? Does it nurture us now, or doesn't it? So this is useful sometimes. Sometimes we have to run not being authentic and not being in our integrity. But if we do that with awareness, then that understanding will help us to see if certain patterns in our life are nurturing us now, or if we're playing games with ourselves. Because eventually we are doing it to ourselves. And it's very interesting to look and see, is this situation coming? If this was a man I'm dealing with, how would I deal with it? If this is a company or a hotel or something, how would I deal with it? I would pay, because it's a male structure. But what happens when you are dealing with a woman or somebody who is in a female body, who is coming at you with kindness and caring and taking care, and you don't feel to respect that so much? It will show how you value or what you feel about the masculine and feminine within yourself. So it's a very good lesson to see, do I honor the masculine and feminine? Do I honor it will show on the subtlest levels. What do you feel about the masculine part of yourself, which is the focus? It is out there, focused, present, structure, linear. What do I think about this? What will I do for this? Being in my male side. And this feminine side that is more receptive, it is like waiting, it's like the womb, it is receiving, it is nurturing, it is holding the space. How do I respect that or disrespect that? And those people that are outside you will just actually be a reflection of what you feel about that within yourself. What you feel about, if I'm in my masculine energy, how will I go? If I'm in my feminine energy, how will I respond to this? And from how you react to that outside source will show how you feel about this within yourself. If you are not respecting the feminine energy outside of yourself in these things and you're justifying, understand that you have some deep conditioning that may feel that as a woman I am not going to be valued. As a woman it will be expected that I am receptive and I'm feeling and I'm going to let you get away with it. That I am weak, that I cannot be strong, that I will not be paid equally, that I will not be respected equally. So on the very subtle levels, we people who are doing supposed spiritual work are often the most subtle levels playing games with ourselves. And it is time now that we start being aware of this. Not the structures and the things are just showing us the grosser level of it. And also sometimes on the male level of it. What the feminine is the transmission. It is through the walking of the life and how we do it. And this way, as I see it, the female transmission is the most tricky to understand. And most masters, especially if they were in a male body, as they became like Osho when they were very refined and further along, of course, they actually became very receptive and very feminine. Because what they were doing was they were giving the final teaching, which is the teaching really of the feminine, which can only be given through transmission, and it can only be given through actions. So this is a very, sorry, somebody's coming into my room. I've got a do not disturb sign up and they haven't read it. Sorry, because it takes me out of where I am. So this is very, sorry. So the thing is, as I see it, and it's only my seeing and my understanding as I have moved more into the space where I am, is that the female transmission is a transmission. It is not done necessarily through structure. Apart from structures can be used, but ultimately to understand how we are valuing the yin energy, and it could be in a male or a female body. We have to look and see how we're walking this in our life. Now, I don't know if this makes any sense. I don't know if I've been able to transmit what... It's not so easy to transmit. There is no judgment on anybody. Everybody can do whatever they need to do. And even if we are out of integrity, even if we are out of our authenticity, even if we are doing something that is totally off, my beloved ones, I am not judging that. I have done everything in my life. I have been the most fucked up person. So I am not judging, but I am saying we are in this year 2018, which comes to an 11. 11 is a very magical and mystical number. It is an incredibly auspicious time. If you step up, if you are walking the path of saying, I want to become more aware, I want to know who I am, I want to know who I am, I want to find that space where I can trust myself. And ultimately it's to trust yourself. You need to be impeccable. You need to be in your integrity. You need to understand that it's okay to make a mistake. And it's okay even to acknowledge that and say, whoops, I made a mistake. Oh, that wasn't really right practice. That wasn't a correct way to teach this person. And if you can, go back to that person and write it. The issue is sometimes when you take your responsibility for something, sometimes the other person will then want you to take the full 100%. Don't take the 100% that is yours. You can take your 50% and let the other person have their 50%. You work on your 50%, let them work on theirs. And in this, we are great gifts to each other, because these situations come up so that we can mature and walk through it. If we do not have these experiences, how do we grow and how do we know? We're in La La Land then. So, my beloveds, for 2018, I think a kind thought for all the world. May all the world be happy and blessed. And that means all of us most fucked up and everything, and doesn't not include anybody. Because if we become happy and blessed, we can no longer play the games that are not in integrity, that are not impeccable. We will naturally be doing what is right practice, what is correct. And it won't be having to have it in a little box that this is good and this is bad. It won't be like that. It will just be a natural flowing. And we will be able to make mistakes and accept that other people can make mistakes without having to, not trying to beat somebody up or make them wrong. We're just saying it's okay to make a mistake, but if you make a mistake, be ready to look and see, what is my game in this? What is my play in this? What am I selling myself out for? And then you will start to trust this inner being within yourself. And then you have something, and you can be with anybody, and you can be alone, and you are free. And your life will start to flow in ways you could never imagine. But every time you sell yourself out, you cheat yourself. And that is really a sad thing to do. So, it's 2008. Please love yourself. Please be impeccable. Please be in your integrity. Please follow through and communicate. Please allow yourself to make mistakes, but to learn from these mistakes. I love you heaps. This is a bit of a long one. I wish you only the best. Bye.